Welcome. I'm Bernice Ross, the CEO and President of Brokerage Up and realestatecoach.com. And I am delighted to welcome RE/MAX's #1 agent in the world, 6 times over, Jordan Cohen. He specializes in Westlake Village in Southern California. And I heard Jordan speak at Real Estate Connect and it was his first time on stage, and he is a natural on stage, but his listing interview material is I've never heard anybody talk about, the listing appointment the way he does. I've done it, but I've never thought about it like the way Jordan does. And you'll be able to see why he's the top agent in the world. Jordan, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me, Bernice. I appreciate it, and I'm honored to be here and very grateful. So
well, I'm so happy to have it. I know that you are an ultra luxury agent, and you're doing a lot of high end deals, and you're producing multi-millions a month, to be the top agent in the world for RE/MAX. But I want to begin with, how did you get started? Because we got a lot of people in the room who are struggling, or maybe new agents, or even who haven't been in the business for any length of time. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, Bernice, I started in entry-level housing about 34 years ago. So for the first 7 years, I started, my geographical farm was in an area called Canoga Park. And basically what I did for 7 years was open houses every Saturday and Sunday. I farmed my geographical farm. My average sales price was under $200,000 for 7 years. And I worked very hard, and pretty quickly I started to do well. I failed on my first 2 listing appointments because I didn't have a great presentation. Then once I realized that that's the secret sauce, that's the key to having a successful career, is the ability to walk in, interview against other realtors, and win, basically take advantage of every situation. So what I did was, after 7 years, I was doing really well at the time. I think I was the top agent in my area. I know I was very proud of that, and I was making a great living. And then I got referred to my first $1 million buyer. And I'd never even been in $1 million home before at that time. And then that guy was a professional athlete. So I was very excited about that. And he said, "Hey man, why don't we look in Westlake Village?" Because at this time I was in the San Fernando Valley, maybe an hour away from Westlake. He said, "Man, why don't we look in Westlake Village?" And I said, "Yeah, man, fantastic." He goes, "I think there's some guard-gated communities there." I said, "Amazing guard-gated communities." But in reality, Bernice, I didn't even know where Westlake was. I had never been there before. Yeah,
but that
so you got to
didn't
keep in
stop you,
mind.
did it?
Yeah. No, so if you got to remember, this was before the internet. So this was before Realtor.com and Zillow and all that stuff. So I had to quickly learn where Westlake Village was. Got out my Thomas Guide and had to figure this out.
Okay,
And
people don't know what a Thomas Guide is. It's a book of maps that you use, and you could
book of maps. Yeah, everybody now is
okay.
Very,
that's old timers here.
yeah. Everybody now is very spoiled. So what happened was, when I went out to Westlake Village, I was very excited. Like I said, it was my first $1 million buyer. And when I went out to Westlake, what happened was I met the realtors that were selling $1 million homes. And at first I was a little intimidated because I got, wow, these agents are selling $1 million homes. And I wasn't. I think the biggest sale I ever did up to that point was like 300,000 or 400,000. But what happened was, for me, was I met them and they were all super nice, very professional, but I didn't think that they were better than me. I thought that, I could compete with all of them. So I literally did that first transaction. I think it was like $1,550,000, and I got that big paycheck. And basically, actually, I got that first transaction done, and we got it signed off. I remember calling my wife from my big cell phone. I said, "Wow, we're going to hit the lottery. I just sold a home for over $1.5 million, that uber big paycheck." And then I realized at that moment that I thought I could beat other realtors that were selling $1 million homes. So I packed up my wife, my little baby boy at the time, and I moved Westlake. I didn't know anybody. And I basically started over. And I got a lot of negative feedback from that. Family, my mom and dad, everybody thought I was crazy, because at the time I was making probably $300,000 a year, maybe more, selling $200,000 homes. So I was what you call successful, right? I was in my late 20s, and probably 29, somewhere in that ballpark. So, but I had the guts to pack up and start over again. And it's been a very good run ever since, Bernice. It's been a good run.
So Jordan, let's get to, what everybody wants to know about. Tell us what your strategy is when you walk into a listing. What do you do? What's your conversation with the seller? How does this all go? Because you say the listing interview is everything. Help us understand how that works and what you do that's made you so successful.
Okay, thank you, Bernice. Yes, I do believe the listing interview is the most important. I look back at every one of my transactions and every listing that I take, and I know they're interviewing other agents. So I win. So I can just imagine if I didn't win, like I like to think every time, then my income would be cut in half. So the listing presentation is critical for a lot of different ways. It's critical in the fact that you're going to win the listing. It's critical for the fact that they're going to respect you more if you give a dynamic, powerful presentation, which will lead to your confidence level of being able to command full commission. It also leads to the respect that they're going to give you when it comes to pricing and negotiating the inspections, everything about it. So like I told you earlier, even if I don't have to interview against another realtor, I still insist on giving my presentation anyway, because it's worth it to me to invest 20 minutes, 30 minutes to have the seller say, wow, I didn't realize you're going to do all that. Wow, you're so sharp and polished, blah, 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 blah. So then at the end of every presentation, when I start tackling pricing and commissions and all that stuff, I just earn their respect so much more. So for me, and I know I wasn't trained like that. So when I started, I used to go to seminars and I was always trained to always try to go last on an interview and to talk about price in the beginning, because if you can't agree on price, why sit there and give a 1 hour presentation? But I don't do any of that. So for me, I always want to go first because my goal is to be so good during that interview that they'll literally cancel the other interviews. And that's when I know I give a successful presentation.
So I want you to pause right there for a second, because what he just said is a big clue, and pay attention to this. You get a great agent who goes first, and then, the question is, are you ready to list with me now? And they say, okay, yes, we are, but we've got these other interviews. Would you like to get started marketing your home? I can call those other agents and tell them that you've decided to list with me. So, this is what happens. You want to go first. This is a nugget. Okay. So, Jordan, you walk into the property. What happens? Take us through your process. Okay. When you first arrive at to talk with the seller, and then on to what you actually say.
Well, like I said, it's absolutely everything. I always like to say that confidence is contagious. So, and excitement is contagious. So the more confident I am in myself, the more excited that I am, those are contagious, facets of success. So if I'm excited and I'm confident, they're going to be my goal on every listing presentation, Bernice. And I say this every single day of my life. The job of a realtor is to maximize the exposure of your property, basically to get as many people to become aware of your property, because you never know where that one buyer is going to come from that's willing to pay your price or more. I used to say fair market value, but I've learned nobody gives a shit about fair market value. People want their price or more, which is why there's so many homes for sale. So I say that now. I switch my language around. So I say the job of a realtor is to maximize the exposure of your home, basically get as many people to become aware of the property, because it only takes that one buyer that's willing to pay your price or more. And I say that because I've heard that a million times, where a seller will say, it only takes one, so I say that to them. So my goal on a presentation is not to have them feel that they want me, but my goal is to have them feel they need me to accomplish their goal. So that's my mindset. I'm going to walk in here and I'm going to have them at the end of the day feel like they need me to get their price or more. So then basically what I do, and we don't have time right now for me to give a whole presentation.
Of course not.
But my goal is to not ask questions, not have them ask questions until the very end. And then my dream presentation is because I already know all the questions, right? I've done this for so many years. Like I know the common questions. So my presentation is geared towards answering those during the presentation. And then I love at the end of a presentation, if I say, Mr. Seller, do you have any questions? And then they'll say, I love it when they say, no, actually, you've answered all of them. So I say, thank you.
So what are the
basically,
common questions that you are asking or that you are answering actually? You know, what are the most, give us some examples of maybe your
what are
four or
you going
five
to do
most
to
common.
market my home? What are you going to do to market my home? How are you going to screen buyers that come into the property? Are you going to show the home yourself? It's what's the process of it? How much notice are you going to give? So I literally take people through the entire process in my interview. But the most important part of the presentation is obviously what I'm going to do for them. This is the key. And a lot of realtors, we do the same thing, but it's how we sell it to them and how we explain it. For example, most brokers, everybody says, I'm going to have your home professionally photographed. That's a common thing. So I take that to a whole nother level. I call it a tool in my toolbox. So I'll say, Mr. Seller, as you know, we're going to have your home professionally photographed. However, I do it a little differently. I'm going to have it shot at dusk where the lights are on in the house. We're going to shoot it before the sun goes down, as the sun's going down, after the sun's going down, because my goal is to have your home pop and beat the competition. Now, Mr. Seller, understand one thing. I'm not going to sell your home from a photo. The odds of that are very slim to none. But my goal in creating epic photos, which I'll curate, I'll choose, the whole thing, and the photos will pop, is to have somebody want to come see your home in person. So I could do what you're hiring me to do, which is to sell your home. Get that buyer motivated, excited, and closed to pay your price or more. So the goal of epic photos is to get somebody so excited by just a select few photos to have them want to come see your home in person. For example, every listing I take, you're never going to see the photo of a small bathroom where you see the toilet. You're never going to see a photo of an overstuffed closet. You're never going to see a photo where half the photo is the street and half the photo is the house. So for me, I'd rather have 20, 25 unbelievable photos versus 80 where people are going to get bored and go to the next house. I'm not going to show a secondary bedroom unless it's special. Again, I want to show just enough to get people excited and passionate to want to come see your house in person, which is when I get to do what you're hiring me to do, which is to get the buyer to make the commitment to buy. So that's just one thing, Bernice, about photos. There's so many other things that we all do. It's just explaining to them how important it is. Again, I shoot all my homes at dusk. It's a great listing tool, but it does work. It does make their home pop. So you might say, well, what if somebody's selling a $600,000 home? Would you still shoot it at dusk? Absolutely, 100%. I want it to look great, but I want to explain to a seller why it's so important. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So in addition to doing photos, okay, everybody, what else are you doing that makes you stand out? A lot of people are doing photos and videos. What makes you different?
But again, as far as the listing interview, a lot of us might do the same thing. It's just explaining to them the power of it. That's the difference. That's why in my book, The Agent's Edge, I go through my entire presentation, Bernice, like literally 90%. So if anybody really wants to get my presentation down, they should go on jordancohen.com/book and buy my book. It's an Amazon bestseller. I'm very proud of it. Sylvester Stallone wrote my foreword, and it's gotten rave reviews. So I'm very proud of that. But when you ask me a loaded question of what else do I say, Bernice, we would be here for 2 hours for me to
Well,
explain
let's talk. So
what I
let's
said.
move on from the photos. So let's assume that, you're doing photos and videos. Most people are doing that and you explain the importance. What else?
Well, then I get into, Mr. Seller, once I get my photos, then I'm ready to do what I call my pre-launch, which is going to be my email blast to thousands of real estate agents. It's going to be my social media platforms through Instagram. But then it's what I say about Instagram and how it works that sets me apart. Every realtor is going to say, I'm going to put your home on an Instagram. It's what I say with that can relate, that can be relatable for a seller to go, wow, all the other realtors said they were going to put it on Instagram. They have so many followers, blah, blah, blah. But nobody really explained to me the real benefit of that. So I get into the benefits. Again, that's all in my book, but it's really powerful stuff. Again, I don't really have the time right now to give a whole big listing presentation, but it's just hitting all aspects of it. Print marketing, I'll give you a good line that I use every day. This is a good one. This could work. It doesn't cost anything. So I say, Mr. Seller, and I came up with this a long time ago, and it triggers because I have sellers say they remember this one and they remember it good. I say, kind of like the agent of an athlete. So as you know, I represent a lot of athletes, blah, blah, blah. But the job of an agent is to get their client, not only negotiate their contracts and to maximize the exposure of their client, but to actually get them off the field endorsements. Athletes love Nike money, athletes love Pizza Hut money and Subway money. So a good agent's behind the scenes promoting their stars all day, every day to get them those things. It's the same with me. I'm a real estate agent. The difference is your house is my star. So I'm going to spend all day, every day promoting your house. Mr. Seller, I only get paid when I sell it, not when I list it. So I'm going to do whatever I can all day, every day to promote your home to get it sold. That's one of the things. But when I say that sports agent analogy, everybody can relate to that. It's free. I give that and a whole lot more in my book, but that's a great thing. Any realtor at any price point can say that exact same thing. The difference is your house is my star. And I'm going to spend all day, every day promoting. It's a great line. Anybody that's watching this, feel free to use it. Unless you compete against me in Westlake Village, Hidden Hills, or Calabasas. That's a really good line.
They're not competing against you, Jordan.
Yeah, that's a really good line though. But it's just, I have a whole lot of those. So Bernice, again, when you're curating a listing presentation, you want to own the room, you want to be confident, and it does matter what you do and say. I don't show up with iPads, none of that visual stuff. For me, it's what I say, how I say it, the tonality. But you never know what that one thing is going to trigger, which is why I do talk about social media. I talk about print. I talk about photography and videos. I talk about email blasts. I talk about a lot of things in a very powerful way. But I am proud of it because sellers say to me, boy, that what you were talking about the sports agent, man, they always remember this one. So I say, Mr. Seller, what a good sports agent does is not only negotiate contracts, but a good sports agent for their clients is going to promote their clients all day, every day, and try to get them that off the field money. So a good sports agent is on the phone all day, every day, trying to promote their athlete. Same with an actor. A good movie agent is on the phone all day, every day. I guarantee you, Tom Cruise's agent isn't just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. He's going to pick up the phone. He's going to do everything he can to get Tom Cruise the best off the field, not off the field, but movie endorsements. Well, let me just finish on this, Bernice, because we're going. So it's the same thing with me. The difference is I'm a real estate agent. We're real estate agents. The difference is your house is my star. So I'm going to spend all day, every day promoting your house. Mr. Seller, I only get paid when I sell your home, not when I list it. So I'm going to do whatever I can to sell it. I'm going to promote it. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to pick up the phone, old fashioned. I'm going to pick up the phone to other agents, past clients, sports agents, business managers, accountants, anybody that can control other people and get them excited about your home. Just like a sports agent, I'm a real estate agent. The difference is your house is my star. That's
and
very
Jordan, I want to go back
relatable.
to something you said right at the beginning of this. I think that may have sailed by people. You said when you do your initial blast, you reach out to other agents. And I think a lot of people may have missed that. It's like you're talking about that maximum exposure. You want to get it out to the brokerage community and then make it the star with, the consumers who are going to be buying it. So to wrap up for today, what's your one piece of advice for whether they're new people are listening or new experience? What's your biggest takeaway for them about what they can do to be more effective on their listing appointments?
Well, I'm very humbled and grateful to get direct messages, emails, and calls literally every single day from new agents, from experienced agents asking me advice. I don't take that for granted. It's very humbling. And I appreciate everyone and I answer everyone. And I always tell everybody, there's a lot of advice. We could talk all day about lead generation. I do some unique things with lead generation. We could talk all day about negotiation, about people and network. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to a powerful listing presentation. If I didn't have one, if I wasn't what I like to say, great in that arena of a listing presentation, my income would be cut in half. Not just to beat other realtors, but to control the transaction. and get it priced right. So I recommend everybody to, well, A, buy my book, The Agent's Edge, Secret Strategies to Win Listings. But yeah, just self-promotion. Hey, come on, I'm here,
Yeah,
man.
I'll put the link in there, I
Yeah,
promise.
yeah.
And
but hold on, not just that, but to listen, practice, create, think outside of the box, what you would want to hear if you were a seller interviewing other realtors, and then practice it. Do you know what I did in the beginning? I literally, it was my girlfriend, became my fiance, and that was my wife of 30 years. But I literally, when I failed on my first 2 listing interviews, true story, I went on these 2 interviews, both of them were under $200,000. And I went on these and I lost both of them. Somebody else got those listings. They got that $6,000 each, which would have doubled my net worth. That $6,000 would have got me out of my parents' house. And it hit me at that moment. Why can't I win? So that's when I realized I better create a great presentation. So then I practiced it with my girlfriend. I made a commitment not to watch TV for 6 months. And I practiced my listing presentation every single day. I had her give me objections. So when I could walk in and win, that is when lead generation became fun. Once I knew that you can't beat me, that I'm going to win every time, that's when I started picking up the phone. That's when I would call like an expired listing and they'd say, oh, Jordan, we're pretty much already going to go with another realtor. That's when I would say, let me interview for the opportunity for the job of working for you. Just meet with me. Give me 20 minutes. Let me show you what I do different. If I didn't have a great presentation, I wouldn't have been confident in even pushing for that listing interview. So it's the key to everything. It's the key to lead generation. It's the key to confidence. It's the key to having fun in this business. And it's the key to make a lot of money. That's me. I talked fast because I just finished a big coffee. So I hope I didn't talk too fast for you there.
You were terrific, Jordan. We've been visiting with Jordan Cohen, RE/MAX's #1 agent in the world 6 times over. And now we know why. Jordan, thank you for being with us. And if you want to see his entire presentation, check out his book. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernice.